Hi, this is the Premier Power Hour podcast. I'm Zach.
I'm Billy.
And with us today is a really special guest. We have Ed Gallegos with us today. Thanks so much for being on, Ed.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Ed
Welcome, Ed.
is really important to what we do here.
How long have you been here, Ed?
Just over 3 years. It's
Okay.
been a whirlwind.
A whirlwind 3 years. How did you wind up at Premier Packaging?
It reminds me of that scene in The Jerk, where the cans thing. I've
They're
somehow,
shooting the can!
Yes, I've managed to be around boxes my entire career. So, I started off at a parcel company that was moving boxes around, and went from looking at address labels the first time I saw a box to buying boxes, and ended up in the packaging industry shortly thereafter, after school. So. Got into making boxes, went into the paper mill side, and then product developments, and ended up at Premier after doing some display work for a couple independents and a couple of major integrateds. So
you've been from the start to
been in the industry,
finish.
Yeah. I think I've done everything but actually logging, but I have been out in the forest with those guys. So
You don't own a lot of trees, then?
No. Too much upkeep. I've kind of moved into a smaller area where there's just a little bit of lawn, and that's plenty for me.
So when you first came to Premier, what was your first role, and how have you progressed into where you're at now?
I came aboard, Dennis Wood hired me. I came aboard as the manufacturing quality manager to handle the manufacturing sites, Louisville, Indianapolis, and Thompson at the time. And, about a year and a half later, as we were kind of, exploding in growth, kind of looked at how we restructured the organization and moved quality over into corporate resources and kind of aligned with safety, and joined Joe Cox and the team. And just kind of modified the title a little bit and picked up the distribution facilities and the rest of the organization. So now I'm the quality systems manager for Premier. And
Corporate Quality Systems Manager.
Yes.
For the whole
Sounds very impressive.
enchilada. I like the sound of it.
That's a great title. What does that title mean? What do you actually do here, to quote Office Space?
I'm kind of the one that creates the boundaries, and I like to think that I'm the one that's trying to bridge the gap between hope and reality. If we're out there, saying we can do something, how are we going to actually accomplish that? How are we going to make sure that the product actually can survive the supply chain? What kind of testing parameters are involved there? So we want to make sure that we have something in place where we can actually evaluate the product. Put some systems in place before we go out of bounds. So control limits, spec limits, taking a look at that data, and then trying to build data-driven decisions as we progress through the manufacturing process.
I'm gonna steal that line, the one that bridges the gap between hope and reality. I feel like
that.
in sales, I also have to do
is-
that
That's
as
usually
well.
that's usually where the gap.
I feel like it's a very nice way to put it. There's quite a gap sometimes. So.
Sky's the limit, and then
Thank you.
reality.
I'm going to totally
Right.
steal that from you. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
I stole it from somebody. So.
Oh, great. Well,
Yes.
great. Just keep recycling it along.
Yes, there's only 20 original PowerPoint slides, and everybody just kind of retools them. So.
That's accurate.
That's sustainability.
That
right
is,
there.
absolutely.
Just keep reusing it. Now, I had opportunity a week or two ago to go into 3900 Produce Road, where our manufacturing facility is, and I don't know if I hadn't been there in a while, but it looked complete. I was
Lots of changes.
floored, and machines that I had never seen before, and of course we've added so many different plants with a lot of manufacturing capability. So we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We're putting out a lot of product. How do you, what is it for us to make sure we're putting out a quality product?
With the new machinery, that gets a little bit easier.
Okay.
They have a lot more guarding on them. They have a lot of areas where you can't just kind of go in and grab a box like in the old days. So, the nice piece about the new machinery that we've been bringing in is that there's a lot of the stuff that's done in an automated fashion. And just with COVID and the fact that, trying to keep a stable workforce and trying to get people that have been in the business for a little bit to understand some of those parameters, it's a little bit easier with the newer equipment to try and get things that, check themselves. So the training piece, the getting operators, to understand, why caliper is important, why color control is important, those kinds of things that geeky people like me get way too deep into the sausage. We want to make sure we put those things in place, and where we need some human intervention, let's make sure we have that. But if we've got some systems in place to check that, and we don't have to retrain people every day, week, month, those are the kinds of things we want to make sure we have in place.
So if I'm walking in off the street and I want a job as operating a a flexo or whatever, how long? What's the learning curve for me to be able to be brought up to speed on that?
It's a lot shorter than it used to be.
Okay.
Again, and I think that just really kind of plays in the COVID world. Everybody's really struggling to get folks to to perform. But again, you can if you're dedicated and you kind of understand and ask the right questions. If you're one of those ask why type folks, so that's really what we want. And as we bring people on board, it's not a very slow progression, or very something we can transition to pretty quickly. Getting somebody to start out as a stacker and a helper, and we learn pretty quick whether or not they kind of understand the business,
Right.
and we're able to kind of keep them involved with the process. And as people move up, we've created a lot of positions. This growth has really been, again, it's been a double-edged sword because it's kind of allowed us to move people into supervisory roles, into operator roles in a much faster pace. So, the short answer to your question is, literally within a year, we've got people that have been operating machines, or sometimes even less.
I like that. The print portion of that, because there's one thing to just make a brown and down box, right? But we're doing a lot of print, right?
Doing a lot of interesting stuff. I think one of the things that I hadn't had a lot of exposure to in one pass before I came here was inside and outside print.
Right.
A lot of the presses that we put in place, I've really tried to focus on that market. And again, you can really damage some corrugated and running it through twice or multiple times. And those are the things we're trying to bridge the hope and reality piece again. One pass is always optimal. And those are some of the things that I think that we do just with simple line work. We do a very nice job. I've done that up in Indy with some business for a couple of years. Got other opportunities here to continue to grow that. And quite honestly, there's other types of print that we as Premier have not been involved with.
Right.
But you get into the digital print. A lot of things have gotten faster and a lot easier to control. And I see us kind of migrating that way. I know that we've been on the front edge of those kinds of technologies. So.
Because some customers want that. They want the pretty. You
Oh,
want that experience. Where,
Absolutely, yeah. They
Pretty,
want
shiny.
the brand image. They want everything to be top notch. They want the black to be super black. They want they
Shiny,
want
not scuffed.
they want nothing wrong with a box, especially a white box. That's always fun.
And I
When
want
they
it for
say,
22 cents.
Yep, I want a white box, and I don't want any dirt to get on it, and I want it to look pretty always.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like there's any, with what you're talking about? I mean, you're in charge of quality, and in the times that we're in right now, where there are labor shortages and there's, safety is not something you can cut corners on. Do you feel like maintaining quality is something you run into any pushback at all, and how do you kind of overcome?
Not from a safety perspective. I think it's always just natural to have a tension between the manufacturing and production speed, efficiency type wing of the organization and quality, and you can have both. I think this organization has been very different than what I've seen a lot of times in my career, where there's a lot of tension there, and it's like, well, I've got to get the numbers out. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter if they're not any good.
Right.
Everybody kind of gets it here.
Okay.
So Jason Stinnett and Dennis Wood and his teams have done a very nice job of understanding that if I run a zillion square feet of something and half of it's bad,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really run anything.
Yeah.
So it really didn't accomplish anything. You really disappoint the customer.
Yep.
And again, now you're talking about bridging that gap between hope and reality, and
Yeah.
really disappointing on the front end. So you really reinforce the brand when you can get the product out there the first time correctly.
Yep.
Every time after that.
Yeah.
So.
Is there a key to maintaining both of those things?
Really,
well,
I think it's relationships.
Okay.
I think having a good conversation. I've never had trouble trying to bridge that gap, because I think we have people that get it in the right places.
Yeah.
We always talk about having the right people on the seats in the bus, and
Yep.
and I think we've got some great people to work with. It's made my job a lot easier.
Yeah.
I have not had to deal with that kind of tension or anything like
Yeah.
that. So it's been a good organization for that.
Yeah.
no pushback. Everyone's been
Yeah.
receptive.
Yeah, everybody understands it. You have the challenges of getting raw materials on time and getting people
Sure.
to work that don't have COVID today, and I think we've been through a couple of years of some painful stuff.
Yeah.
But those kinds of problems, I have not.
Yeah.
I've not
Quality,
run into.
quality hiring and communication.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's never enough time to run an order, but there's always enough time to run it again when it's right.
Yeah, that's
Oddly
what's been
enough,
rough.
yeah. That's
Yeah, it's like,
haven't
hey.
run into that, but Yeah.
Until you ran into peak of last year, and then there was no time to do anything.
To do anything.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just ship it.
Hand deliver the product.
It's like, oh my God, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Having been at so many other integrateds and other organizations, what is it? What is it coming to Premier? What do you like about it? What's different? What are we doing that no one else is doing?
A couple of things. I think what I've always found is that I enjoy a smaller organization. So I've been with major integrators. I won't mention the names, but they own everything from the trees all the way through the whole system. And it really, even if it started out as a kind of a good flat organization where you could kind of approach people the right way, it always kind of trended more towards the metrics and trying to get the square footage out, trying to get the tons out, and that's something that I think is obviously important. We want to make money. We want to make sure that we're satisfying customers. But I think Premier's done a really nice job of trying to balance that with customer expectations and that small company feel that again, you can scale up and still capture some of that. I think it puts you, from a sales perspective, I think it puts you in an interesting position, but you can balance that, and Premier's done a nice job of doing that, and it's made my life a little bit easier, challenging in other ways,
right?
But again, I think that's one of the greatest things that I've found about Premier, and the fact that we get involved in all kinds of different stuff. I came here primarily with a paper packaging corrugated background. I laugh because in school I used to always make fun of packaging engineers and ask them about, hey, why don't you become a real engineer?
Right.
And lo and behold,
Whoops. Oh, yeah.
I also hated calculus. It was one of those things that it's like, so. As I've kind of moved through my career, it's one of the things that I think Premier does a nice job of getting into other markets. So mailers and different types of mailers. So I've learned a lot of things being here that I wasn't exposed to prior to coming here.
Mailers, luxury packaging, which we've talked about before, which I imagine the quality aspects of that are even more.
They are very, very, very picky people.
Yeah,
right.
But they're paying for it.
They're paying for it. Yeah, they're paying that kind of unit price for a box. They want it to be perfect.
Absolutely.
How are we doing, quality-wise?
We're doing pretty good. I think again we've struggled
Good
with
answer.
some things.
Good answer right away.
We have struggled with some things. Again, turnover has been painful for us. And I think we've saw some of that. Coming out of peak last year, where we had new people in new positions. Not a whole lot of depth, and you started to see some defects there. Customers have been patient. I think they've really kind of understood some of the things that we're going through.
Happening to them as well, right? I mean,
it is. And again, I think if this is happening to you and you're on an island, that's one thing. But I think everybody's kind of going through the same thing.
There's quite a bit of tension, I'd say, in your job, right? A lot of bridging between a hope and a reality. Premier prides itself in the quality that we have. Do you have a favorite moment, a proudest moment of your time working here?
I don't know if I could just nail it down to one. I mean, I think
you can share a couple. I think we got the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've done some things here. One of the things that's as I kind of came on board, just the ability to get exposure to to the whole bagging thing. We started up a mailer line down in Georgia, and just the ability to kind of come through and figure that out and say, how are we going to check quality of these things? So had an opportunity to kind of work with the crews there, work with some of the folks who were setting up the bag machines, say, how are we going to manage this, and what's a good way to test these things? And it just seemed to kind of line up well with another problem we were actually having at the time with a different kind of mailer, a poly mailer up in Chicago, for one of our customers, and the test method we came up with actually kind of translated pretty well to being able to test how a perf tears and how easy it is for a bag to tear off. So we kind of quickly rolled into that, and I think that was a good find, and we kind of tripped over a test method that we could replicate in a number of different areas. And again, geeky people find that exciting,
right?
And most people not so much.
Anything that can be replicated across multiple lines.
Yes.
Is great. I know from where we have to go through testing we'll do I'm in a process right now with ISTA certification
Always
testing. And so any time that a single test or a single method can be expanded over multiple lines or products, as a salesperson, I'll geek out and be happy about that, because that means we get to quote it and sell it and produce it quicker.
And you can only explain one test that way. It's a lot
only
easier.
one test,
You
which
only
then
have to go
means
through one.
money in my pocket faster, which I
That's
very
always
much
good.
enjoy.
Always good.
Yeah.
I hear you there. You are also involved in our sustainability efforts, right?
Yes, yes. We've recently hired a sustainability manager to help manage that and really kind of take a lot of it off my hands. But deeply involved. We spent a good portion of time getting documentation ready and getting the facility set up to pass our FSC and SFI certifications.
Yep.
So we're patiently awaiting our certificate being issued and be very excited about that.
They're not one in this. Are they the same company now that does that?
No,
okay,
they're two
different organizations.
Yeah, they're two
okay.
different, I always describe it as kind of a Pepsi Coke kind of thing. So they're both sustainability standards.
Right.
They don't recognize each other very well, but there is a fair amount of overlap.
Forest Stewardship Council. I know
Very
that
good.
one. And what's the other? What's
The
SFI?
Sustainable Forestry Initiative.
Sustainable Forestry Initiative.
Okay, yeah, that does sound kind of like a
Yes.
Coke and
Pepsi kind of
Pepsi.
thing.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for?
It's in the easiest way to describe it essentially is that we have a chain of custody that goes all the way from the tree through the finished product to the consumer.
We
So
can
we've got a
prove
method.
that our stuff is coming from sustainably.
And the nice part is we don't have to go and interview the guy that grew the tree. We can trust their certification, their third-party audit, and they can pass their certificate number along with all the documentation. So it works its way through the mills and the paper and the paper that goes to the sheet producer and then to us. We can convey that certification all the way through.
a lot of record keeping, a lot of just right?
Again, computers make everything wonderful.
Certainly.
So again, as you separate that stuff into specific finished goods and specific job numbers or lot numbers, it gets a little bit easier to track.
Right.
But key thing really is just making sure that we're staying in bounds. They have just updated the standards. There's an updated standard for 2022. And modifying that a little bit, it really kind of gets more into the expectation for just making sure that we're living by good safety expectations, and human trafficking is not something that we're involved in. So they've rolled some other things into it with some tweaks in the
A big
language.
net.
Yes, yes. It's really kind of cast things into a different perspective. So.
Everyone's talking about sustainability. Everyone's interested in it. Companies want to be able to provide that to their customers. What are the biggest challenges to providing sustainability to our customers?
Not really sustainability. One of the things, and it goes back to kind of bridging that gap that I've run into, is there's a lot of customers that are really into the circular economy. They really want to make sure that they're utilizing as much recycled fiber as possible. Even going so far as to say I want this much post-consumer, so it's kind of gone through its life cycle. There's trade-offs, and with that, virgin fiber carries a lot of strength. I tend to be surprised that there's a lot of customers that kind of don't understand that as you make a package out of fully recycled fiber, it performs very differently in February than it does in June. It's kind of wicking up all the moisture in the air, gets a little bit soft, gets a little bit gooey, and hey, you've changed my paper. This isn't any good. So while you've kind of won on the environmental front, you're really struggling in the supply chain protective packaging piece. So it gets a little painful there, and making sure people kind of understand that on the front end and remember that when they kind of get into the painful parts, that's always been kind of a challenge.
And it has from the sales side, from the supply chain specialist side, that has a huge effect on everything else. The first thing that it affects beyond the protectiveness of the packaging and the performance is the tape. A lot of times the tape won't stick onto it,
Exactly.
so now all of a sudden we have to spend more on tape, which then if it's a branded tape, we got to spend more on that, and the whole thing is thrown off. So managing those expectations from the jump is critical.
And that's always critical. So the earlier you can get in front of that conversation, it just makes my life a lot easier.
I think they know we're talking about
Yes,
sustainability.
they do.
They're
Yeah.
very excited. Yeah.
It's Recycle Day for
Everybody loves it.
Everybody
It
loves
is.
it. I want it to be. I'm concerned about it, and I think I want it to be just easy. There's so many, just from a personal standpoint.
Totally.
I just want to get something that I know I can do something. It's easy for me to get rid of it or whatever. So that's I don't know. I mean, is that what we're doing mostly?
It is. Again, I think we go back to the sustainability standards, FSC and SFI, to track it and to handle the chain of custody. That's a little difficult. Requires some accounting, some record keeping. But in the end, if you're buying paper from the U.S. and it's all domestic sourced, it's really hard to get stuff that's kind of out of bounds. So again, I think that's one of those things that, we're doing the right stuff. It does make it easy, but, you have to kind of understand, what goes into that certification. You have to understand, corrugated is a great thing. It's easily recyclable.
It's already.
Yeah, and it's got one of the best setups as far as recapture rate. Recapture rate has been, in the upper 90s for decades.
Wow, that's incredible.
So again, it outpaces everything. You've got glass, I think, shortly behind that, and then plastics have kind of become the persona non grata now.
Dirty word.
A dirty word. Yeah,
as well
absolutely.
they should be.
Yeah, so I remember the old paper bag days at the grocery store. When I was a kid, and then all of a sudden everything was in plastic, and now
Right.
I think people are kind of
When,
revisiting that.
Like, when can I get just a water bottle then in a juice box? Why can't I do that?
They sell that now.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they? Am I missing that?
On an
store?
airplane, I feel like on a couple of the flights that I've had, they have like the boxed water. Will Smith's son did a just water kind
It's
of
kind
thing
of an
that's in a
expensive
box.
package for water, but
I'm gonna have to look for that.
Yeah. It makes me feel better when they pour it out of a paper, milk container. But besides that, I mean,
Yeah, what do you-
it's good for them.
yes, gable top is
Good for them.
I'm going out on a limb here. Are you describing yourself as a geek? Or just more work-wise geekdom?
I think that's my wife's influence. It's like, okay, she doesn't really care about like how things are put together. So I have a tendency to start to explain things, and she's kind of tuning out. So I think I've kind of internalized that and said, like if I think back to my days in school, I kind of always got along with people that were a little more technical, the engineer types. I was always fine having conversations with them, and as well as my buddies on the hockey team. So it was always a little bit different.
Into the numbers.
I like to bridge both sides.
Are you are you a fantasy baseball kind of person?
No,
or-
fantasy stuff I don't get.
You don't do that.
I'm
Okay.
like,
You said numbers wise and mentioned hockey, so I thought maybe there's a.
No, I just I kind of prefer to kind of strap on the skates and stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of go out and do that.
Yes.
Yeah, the fantasy stuff I've just never quite understood because
No.
I thought, like what drives that? And I think maybe I'm too old. That might be it.
People love it.
They
People
do.
love it.
People make a lot of money on it. Not me.
Nowadays, absolutely you can.
I was in a meeting in Premiere, and I think we just talked to Jeff Steele yesterday, and I was probably coming in late, and he said something about, hey, you want to get in our football league? And I just very quickly said, no, I'll get hurt.
Yeah.
Nice.
He said no.
I think you missed the
it's a
concept,
fan-
but yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I still don't,
Oh,
but
maybe.
thank you.
No, absolutely not.
No thanks.
Well, I don't think we have any other career questions for you, but we do at the end of a show, we do kind of a grab bag segment. What's in the box? Have you been warned about this?
I've seen this.
You've
I
seen
haven't
this
seen
before?
anything
Oh, nice.
like I haven't seen like liquids or explosions.
It's a
No,
pretty,
it's
it's a
pretty easy.
pretty easy one today. If
Okay.
you're down,
That's fine.
If you're down
That's
to play.
fine. Easy is better.
We actually have a box today, which is
Fantastic.
What's in the box? Sponsored by Premier Packaging. Today, the question. I should show the what's in the box.
Fantastic.
We see we have the
Princess
description.
centered.
Yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
I wish I got these
I'd like to say
beforehand.
I
by the
came
way.
up with the concept of this box, but our team of engineers did a great job doing it. It's a piece of candy. I have a Jolly
Okay.
Rancher today.
Uh-huh.
We can expand it beyond candy to kind of a
They like the Jolly Rancher.
yeah, they do. They do. Survey says, do you have a favorite candy or kind of a sweet, if you will, that's kind of a go-to for you?
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the nice
what
thing is that
percentage are
people-
you? Are you like a 72 or you go 90?
Probably 72.
Yeah.
Because it's
That's
like a little
kinda the
creamy.
sweet
It's not
spot.
too yeah.
That's the-
It's
yeah.
not too brittle.
Do you do any flavor with it?
No, just kind of straight out.
Okay.
Straight out.
Sea salt at all or?
That is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I do have.
Yeah. My wife, when she was pregnant, we spent a hefty part of my commission checks on dark chocolate, and we tried a couple different flavors. And I'd say the sea salt is probably my favorite.
Very good.
Really?
Very good.
You never, you don't indulge in anything that would be bad for you, so it's probably a hard question for you to answer.
I don't. I like candy. I'm always in airports getting And I think I usually go for more savory stuff if I'm going to
Okay.
Five Guys or something.
nosh on the plane. No. Oh, God, I hate when people get onto an airplane with a dang burger.
Right.
But let's wait until we shut the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God you got
Wait until
extra
it's shut
onions.
so I can-
Glad you showed
Thank
up.
you so much for that. Yeah.
This
An
2-hour
egg salad
flight.
sandwich just ready to.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's been my
Classic candy bars.
Yeah.
Sounds good to
Snickers
me.
for you, or
Maybe a
payday.
Snickers or a Twix
Yeah.
or a
For
you know,
me,
just for a quick jolt.
It used to be Sour Patch Kids in college, but I ate
Interesting.
so many of them that the tongue, I think, got rubbed raw. So now I don't enjoy them. So I pivoted to Mike and Ike's because I can still get kind of the what would you call that? The tropical or the
That's a fruit.
the
flavor.
fruity
It's
flavor, but
fruity
with
flavor.
yeah. That's it.
What are the ones that are licorice? I like licorice, and no one likes licorice. People make fun of me for going for licorice stuff.
You know what though? During the supply chain shortages, I think you will always have your candy available
Yeah,
to you
it's
because
always on the
nobody
shelf.
likes licorice.
Everybody's like,
Yeah. Nobody likes licorice, but everybody likes Ed. Ed, thanks for being on today. Really
Definitely.
appreciate your time.
glad to be here. Thanks,
That's
guys.
that's all the time we have. Until next time, this has been the Premier Power Hour. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks.
Do you have comments, questions, or ideas about this topic? If so, we'd like to hear from you. Please visit crimpack.com/podcast to let us know what you think. Thanks.